Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Pitt County DSS Board. Typically we have an observance of us with a silent moment of silent prayer or silent meditation. Okay, do we have any public comments today? No one, okay.
I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda as printed, distributed.
Okay, we're going to have to do some revisions.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to revise the agenda?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so between the interim director's report and the director's search, we're going to have to go into closed session. And that's what our what will be added to our agenda between the interim director's report and the director's search.
Pass me that pen right there, please.
Okie
Pen right
dokie.
there.
Let's see.
Yes.
Do I have a motion? Have we read our minutes from the previous meeting in August?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I have a motion on the floor to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed. Okay, I'm going to turn it to Suzanne Gray to talk about the recognition of new hires and retirees.
Well, I am pleased to announce that we have 6 new hires. If you would stand when I call your name so that you could see the board, and if the board would just introduce themselves so you would get to know who rules the roost here, so to speak. Alicia Anderson. Nice to have you, Alicia. Morkivia Jernigan. Is she here?
There she is.
Oh, there she is. You're hiding. Good to have you here. Lakeisha Parker. Good to have you here. Casey West. Casey and I, it's good to have you here. Casey and I had the honor and privilege of meeting each other while standing in line the other day for the new worker orientation. We got to know each other pretty well.
I didn't know who I was talking to.
Yeah, it was, as soon as we found out where we were supposed to go. Verniqua Brown, did I say that correctly? You're hiding too. Nice to have you here. And Candace Franklin, nice to have you here. It's all good to have all of you here.
Welcome. You want to start? Would you like Sheila to introduce yourself?
Sheila Bunch.
And you, Mary?
Mary, I thought you were going to say more than that.
I didn't have instructions to say more.
I'm Mary Perkins Williams.
Catherine Nelson, Chair.
Daron Dancy, Vice Chair.
I'm Kylene Dibble.
So congratulations and welcome to DSS.
Yeah.
So, do we?
I am delighted. Well, you usually say something to us because I like to hear your voice. I won't know you the next time anyway. So can
I
you
was gonna
come to the
say-
podium and say something?
Suzanne, can they come to the podium and introduce themselves?
Sure.
Say where they work.
Come on up.
And you don't really have to sing. I know they told you you don't really have to sing.
I'm Vaniqua Brown. I work with Adult Services, the APS. Is that it? You want a little bit about me?
Where you
Yeah.
come,
Yeah.
I live here in Pitt County, but I was born and raised in Hosky, North Carolina.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Alicia Anderson. I work for social services and the food and nutrition program. I'm originally from Pitt County. I was raised here. I've been living in Forsyth County for 14 years, so that's where I came from. The social services there, so I'm glad to be home.
Welcome.
Nice to meet
Thank you.
everybody.
Absolutely.
Welcome home. Good to have you back.
And I'm Lakeisha Parker. I am originally from Greenville. Just moved back after being away about 25 or so years. I've worked with Mecklenburg County DSS in the past, and right now I work in customer service at 203 Government Circle. And that's about it.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Back
welcome.
home.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Casey West. I'm originally from Sampson County. I used to work at the domestic violence shelter there, and I decided it was time for me to take the next step and come to DSS. I work in adult services in the CAP program. So.
Thank you,
To
welcome.
Pitt County.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
My name is Marquivia. I work in food and nutritional services. I'm originally from Mahaski, but I live here now in Pitt. I just want to make a difference in my clients' lives.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
welcome.
Wonderful.
Good to have you. All of you are new taxpayers.
Hello, I'm Candace Franklin. I am actually a returning employee, originally from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I worked here in Pitt County until 2020. I was the APS supervisor in adult services, and I returned this month, and I'm adult services supervisor again.
Welcome.
Thank you, welcome back.
Is that all of them? Wonderful. Okay. We have any retirees? We didn't have retirees, did we?
Yes, Miss Angela Hart.
We had one retiree, and it was Christine Adams, and I don't think
Yeah.
she's even working right now. I think she's out, so.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations to Christine. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll have the program managers report. Angela, you're back up
No, I don't know
again.
why I went and sat back down. If you look at your vacancy reports, I've done a little bit of revisions on some of them to try to make it so that it's a little bit easier to understand and easier to read. I've separated out, as you see, we have got 5 vacancies in administration. One includes the director's position. Tanya and Paige and I are hopefully going to start interviewing for these people very soon so that we can get these spaces filled, so that we can get us another clerk to the board to come up here and assist you. Oh, is it not working? Okay. All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. In economic support services, we have 12 vacancies. They are still, right now, everything that has been vacated has been advertised. We made sure that they have been advertised. Family support services has 3 vacancies. Down when you get to the services section, I have separated out adult services and child welfare so that you can see the difference, since they are different divisions under services. Currently in adult services, we have 4 vacancies, and in child welfare, we have 17 vacancies, leaving us a total of 41. And it's not didn't print out on here, but we have hired 3 people since the last board meeting. So I thought the way the vacancy report's laid out now would be a little bit easier for y'all to read, and it's a little bit bigger so that you can actually see what you're looking at. So
I certainly appreciate the large font.
you are very welcome. I couldn't even read it myself, so. And then the other thing that I wanted to go over just briefly is just give you an outlook, just a brief outlook of how the budget's going so far. Month to date for August, we have received $3,219,416 in revenues. And our expenditures for this month were $2,348,252. The reason for the lower amounts of money is because in DSS, you have to have positions filled in order to receive your revenues. So our expenditures are down because of the vacancies that we have. And also, year-to-date for our revenues, we have $3,893,230. And our expenditures year-to-date are $4,729,638. So we're at 11% for our revenues and 14% for our expenditures. So we're a little bit under, but we're about on target. So just wanted to give you that brief overview. Any
Good,
questions?
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Mhm.
Tammy Lewis?
Madam Chair, you gonna excuse the new hires?
Absolutely, thank you, Dr. Bunch. If the new hires, if they would like to excuse themselves, you may, unless you want to stay. It's solely up to you. Okey dokey, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Tammy Lewis. I'm the Child Welfare Program Administrator. And so today I'll give you an update of what's going on in child welfare. As you all know, the Child Welfare Division consists of our intake and assessment units, our CPS in-home services unit, as well as our permanency planning unit, which is our foster care units. We currently have 199 children in our legal custody as of August 31st. We started out with 172 children in our custody at the beginning of January, and since that time, we have assumed custody of 68 children. Only 37 children have left our custody. So we are seeing an increase in the number of kids in care, and those kids that are exiting care, that number is decreasing, which we would like for it to increase. We want more kids to leave versus us having more kids coming into custody. During the month of August, 15 children came into custody and only 2 left. So 2 children were reunified with a parent or guardian or caretaker. So then I'm gonna move on to the Child Protective Services areas of child welfare. So since January of this year, we've screened in 319 reports of maltreatment. We screened out, or we did not accept, 122 reports that came in as they did not meet the criteria for us to go out and do an assessment of abuse or neglect. During the month of August, we had 102 reports to come into the agency that we accepted, and then we screened out 49 reports. Those 49 reports did not meet the criteria, so currently we do have a backlog of about 400 open cases, and we are in the process of working with the division in coming up with a plan. Actually, we do have a plan and some strategies in place to address that backlog. That backlog came about as a result of the numerous vacancies that I currently have in child welfare. Right now it's about 17 as of August, and then I've got some resignations since then, but anyway, that'll be next month. As it relates to those 400 open assessments that we have, some of the strategies that we have put in place, along with the division in their guidance and assistance, we've contracted with Vanguard. Of course, I've been calling Vanguard since probably May of this year, trying to see if they had any social work staff that we could get to come on board and work with us to help with this backlog. For example, yesterday I had 4 assessors in rotation to get reports, and we got about 9 reports. And so when you only have 4 assessors and you have about the positions, 13 positions, then that certainly hampers our ability to get out and assess the safety of children. And so we're trying to hire temporary staff. We have gotten 5 temporary staff who have come on board, and what we're gonna do is designate a team of social workers who will be solely responsible for that backlog. Those cases that we have assessed since then is probably about 100 cases right now that we're looking at redistributing to that group of social workers who are certainly glad to come back and sort of give us some assistance in the area of going out, assessing safety, and closing those cases, or either getting those cases to CPS in-home services, which is another area of child welfare where we provide ongoing services to those families who, need some assistance in the area of parenting, or at least assessing the risks of safety. So Then we have begun work nights, so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we work from 5 to 7. I have my existing social work staff who are unable to, during the daytime, do a whole lot of administrative and paperwork, excuse me. And so that time is designated to get documentation current, to do some scanning, and to also make some home visits on those families who work during the day and we need to see them after hours. And then from 8:30 to 10:30 each morning is designated as a time to work on those current cases, because cases are still coming in, they're not stopping. And so we have to set aside some time where staff is to work on getting the records together, getting documentation in the record, and either staffing with their supervisors and that kind of thing. And so we have been assessing those 400 cases, and at this time we are going through those cases to determine what needs to be done, whether we need to either move those cases to another area of child welfare or to close those cases. So that's the update on child welfare. Do I have any questions?
Any questions?
Seems like a
Thank
lot
you.
of people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Averett?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There's several areas I would like to highlight related to our Economic Services Division. The first is our Medicaid Applications Processing Report, and there's a copy of this report in your packet. We continue to pass the Medicaid report card. 90% is the state standard for Medicaid processing, and in August for disability applications, we processed at 94% timeliness, and for all other Medicaid applications, 93% timeliness. So we're meeting the requirements of that report, and I'm thankful the staff are working together well to get this accomplished. Another area of interest is Medicaid expansion, and a lot of people have had a lot of questions about that. It's sort of at a standstill for right now. It's been talked about for a long time in the General Assembly, and at this point it appears that based on what I've been reading, it may not be taken up again until next year's legislative session. The Senate is wanting to include some reforms to the Certificate of Needs process for medical services, and the House is not in agreement, so they're sort of at a stalemate on that right now. That's not to say it won't happen and they won't be able to resolve those issues, but at this point, it's sort of tabled. Medicaid expansion related to Pitt County projection would add approximately 537 more jobs, approximately 115 million additional growth in Pitt County's economy over a 2-year period. These are projections that have been made from a statewide study that was done, how the counties would be affected. Potentially, there would be 13,082 additional individuals receiving Medicaid services. And these are individuals who currently do not qualify for Medicaid because they do not meet the disability requirement. A lot of people are unaware that the disability requirement is part of the eligibility process for individuals age 18 through 64. And if a person does not meet the definition of disability, then they're just not eligible to participate in Medicaid unless they have a child who's receiving Medicaid, and then they can receive as a parent in a family and children's Medicaid case. But those who have no children or are not caretakers for children have to meet the disability definition. And so until age 65, the disability definition must be met. People age 65 and over, as long as they meet the other qualifications for Medicaid, then they can participate. So you see that if the Medicaid program were expanded to include these individuals, there would have to be some provisions made for additional staffing to take the applications, to maintain the ongoing caseload that would be added if these folks were determined to be eligible. So that's the overview of Medicaid transportation and what we know at this point. The next area is the low-income household water assistance program, and that report is in your packet. As of August 31st, we had assisted 324 households with water assistance, totaling $99,929, and we still had, at the end of August, $230,652 available to assist households. The recipient eligibility determination audit is an area I would like to highlight. This is an audit that's conducted every 3 years of each county's Medicaid program, and this is an accuracy audit for Medicaid. The audit that was done here and in all the other 100 counties would be considered a baseline audit because we've never had an audit that was as comprehensive of Medicaid accuracy as this audit is. They review cases over a 10-month period of time. They pull approvals and denials, denied applications, and at the end of that 10-month period of time, then we get a score, an accuracy score is given. There are 3 areas that the score is given. One is approval actions, and another is denial and termination actions, and the accuracy score required is 96.8%. The other area is technical procedures, and the required area of accuracy is 90%. Now, we scored 90.5% for the technical area of the audit, and we met that requirement. The other 2 areas, we did not meet the 96.8%. We scored 92% for approval actions and 91% for denial and termination actions. We have put together an accuracy improvement plan. It has been accepted by the Division of Health Benefits. The plan has been approved, and we will meet monthly virtually with our point of contact at Division of Health Benefits to monitor our progress of the plan and to determine our outcomes. After that, the period of time of the monthly meetings and review has concluded, another review will be conducted over a period of 3 months. They will again pull records over a 3-month period. That will begin in January 2023. And then we'll determine at that point if we come out of performance improvement by meeting the required scores in each area. So that's the overview of the RETA audit, and we have our plan in place. The plan includes some remedial training. It includes contact follow-up with caseworkers as we find areas that need to be improved in. We follow up, and that is part of our normal process. We are always, as a continuous process, reviewing case records and to determine how we're doing with accuracy, but we're especially focusing in addition on areas that were pointed out in the audit that we need to work on. The other area is food and nutrition services applications processing. We have seen a dramatic increase in the number of food and nutrition services applications. The increase has gone from 796 applications received in the month of January to a high of 1,476 applications received in the month of August. So we're almost at a point where we're almost getting double what we received earlier this year. On average, the staff working in food and nutrition services intake are processing 1,269 applications a month compared to 644 that were being processed on average in January of 2022. As a result, we are not meeting the state requirement for timely processing of food and nutrition services applications. We are in conversation on a monthly basis. We always have a monthly call with our rep, our state rep for food and nutrition services and our energy programs. They are aware of our process and what we're doing to improve in this area. And I will share the state is not being punitive against counties currently which are not meeting this standard. And this is due to the continued public health emergency related to coronavirus and all the changes that have occurred and been required since we've been in the public health emergency. So we are working to bring this into compliance so that we won't have any kind of action in the future. We have 12 intake caseworker positions assigned to FNS, or Food and Nutrition Services. We have 8 that have been with us for a while, at least 1 year or longer. We have 1 that's been employed for 6 months, 1 that's in training, and we have a vacant position that's been posted and closes on this Friday. And then we have another position that will be vacated this Friday. So it's sort of been a fluid situation in the food and nutrition services area. As we get positions filled, it's not uncommon for us to be having vacancies again that have to be filled. So this is where we are in food and nutrition services, and I'll be happy, and that's sort of my report overview of the economic service highlighted areas at this point in time, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from board members?
Is there any idea when the state may consider coming out of the public health?
Based on meetings we've had, they cannot give us a definite answer. They're asking for waivers on a monthly basis, Health and Human Services. That's the way it works with USDA and the Food and Nutrition Services Program. Their guess, they're thinking it may be January. That's their guess at this point, but there's nothing definite there. They're just based on information they're getting, but of course they don't have a definite answer for us. The response, of course, is, which is the process, they're asking on a monthly basis to have the waivers continued. And the waivers have been continued through September, and we're waiting to hear about October at this point.
Yeah, I would just in my mind guess that with CDC and some of their ongoings that it won't be long.
We're getting that indication, yes. It may just be a few months,
Yeah.
if that much.
Right.
Thank you,
Are
Bonnie.
other counties seeing the increase in applications for Medicaid and food and nutrition?
Food and nutrition more so than Medicaid.
Okay.
We're not seeing as much increased activity in Medicaid as we are as food and nutrition. This is, and we're seeing the larger counties when we look at the reports, and we're in sort of a larger category. We're not the largest, but we're in the top 16 counties in North Carolina as far as, you know, our caseload sizes and population. So it is being seen across the state, and it is being experienced. Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ross, you're up next.
Good afternoon. So I'm here as the Adult Services Program Manager to speak with you about what's going on in our division. Our division, we've talked a lot about the different services we offer. Our services are from 18 all the way up. Our services, we have some services that are related to, they must be a disabled individual. Majority of our services are related to that. But not all of our services are income-based. Our Adult Protective Services Program and our Guardianship Program are not income-based. They're without regard to income and cross all socioeconomic areas. Our services of in-home services is for individuals who do not receive Medicaid. So there's a minimum amount of income for individuals who are receiving those, and you must be over that. Then we have programs that are based on income for individuals who are eligible for Medicaid that puts extra services in the home. In our programs, based on our services for the last fiscal year, we served about 375 individuals in various in-home related programs and guardianship. Those are ongoing cases that continue to get served year after year by our social work staff. Our Adult Protective Services program, we screened in 616 reports. So we received 780. All staff in adult services is responsible for taking those reports. They all alternate and take turns. So everybody has a little hand in that piece of it. Everybody has a little hand in the on-call response to that. And then we have Adult Protective Services staff that actually does the evaluations. And for that staffing program and that pattern, that's 616 screened in. Some of our biggest challenges there has been staffing because we're short-staffed. If I took the average for the year in that program and our staffing, that means they're getting 10 new reports a month with the state recommendation being 6. So it's very challenging. They also, once they determine an adult's in need of protection, they're also having to do the other piece of it and help intervene and put services in place and work with that individual to get them safe. So that has been one of our areas with the largest challenge. It's an area that's hard to keep staff interested and engaged because it's an extremely challenging and difficult job. The diverse population from any problems that 18-year-olds have to individuals that are aged. So it's a challenging thing to step into and learn. It's high stress, so the extra burden of short staffing creates challenges. So it's hard to get people that want to be in that program and stay in that program. So we have actually only one vacancy that's being advertised right now, but many of our staff positions that are filled are very new. So if I had to do an average for the year, we've had at the most 5 positions of the 8 consistently filled. So that's been one of our biggest challenges. Individuals, my partners here shared information about auditing and oversight. Adult services does not get as much oversight as some other programs. Adult protective services and guardianship and our in-home aid programs, they get audited and monitored from the division every 4 years, and that is due to take place in January. So that's where they come, pull records and audit. We have some voluntary auditing that we send in some records, and that's on a certain schedule, and they review those and give input. But that's where they give advice and direction, and that's centered around quality versus when we get monitored, it'll be just programmatic and whether you meet minimum standards, and that will be in January for us. We do have the unique thing in adult services is we kind of answer to a few different bosses. We have the Division of Aging that is responsible for some of our programs. We answer to the Division of Medicaid for our programs like CAP and In-Home have Medicaid-related pieces to them. And then we have Area on Aging that we get funds from. And then we have the Division of Health Service Regulation. So we have a few different parties that deal with different pieces of it and for review. In the last year, we had a Social Security audit in which they look at how our fiscal side handles all the money and how we write checks, and they look at the social work piece of it and how we manage the beneficiaries, how we know their needs, and how we keep up with them. And it was only adult services cases that got pulled in this year's pull sample. I'm not sure how that worked, but it was a successful audit on both sides. We had no findings in that audit, so we're very proud for our agency and what we did in that area. We also had an audit from Area on Aging, and that's annual, where they come and look at our contracted services, and we were successful with no findings in that area.
Excellent. Any questions?
So on your last 4-year audit, by chance, do you remember what the score was, and how are you feeling going into this one?
We did not have any findings in our last one. 4 years before that, we had minimum findings, and what happens, unfortunately, then the way that they pull records, it can be such a small sample. So particularly in adult protective services, you might only have 2 that apply to one specific thing. So if you miss one, you don't pass. So we have come a long way, even though we had no findings in the last audit. We've come a long way in some of our focus and things. I feel good about our case decisions. Historically, across the state, we have a very good reputation for programmatic knowledge and following programmatic. But some of the timeliness of putting services in place can be a challenge. So we can make the case decision in time, but getting in there and getting the remedy done can be a challenge. In our guardianship cases, they'll be reviewing whether we did everything timely and did our meeting. So I'm hopeful that we'll be successful without findings, but it's all in the sample that they pull and how that works. If there's any findings, I feel pretty confident that there will be minor things that we'll be able to work on through training staff. It'll be, it might be an error. I don't think there should not be anything that programmatically is not accurate. We just may have a timing thing or a training thing if there's any findings.
Is there any pre-planning leading up to the audit, Cynthia? By your
Yes,
team?
we'll have training with supervisors around the auditing tools. So we already have that as part of our strategic plan, using the monitoring tools and using the CQI tools where all supervisors will review 2 records. As it gets closer to the process, we'll sit down with staff, and staff will have to read records with the monitoring tool. We have new staff. I don't think any of our staff that are here now were doing adult protective services in our last audit. So it's like going back over it again. Candace Franklin, who returned, she was here as a supervisor when we had our last monitoring, but my other supervisors were not supervisors. So we will do some training around that. We'll get the sample 10 days in advance of them coming and actually looking. So we'll actually be able to pull those records. So pretty much by the time they come, we already know what they're gonna find. Because we do get advanced knowledge so that those records can be pulled. But they're, you're not really expected to go in there and fix things. We can add to some documentation. We can put some notations, or if we're missing something and there's something we can find. Sometimes something's missing, particularly now that you have electronic files. Did something get scanned in? We can go to the courthouse and pull something and add it and make sure it's there and present. But yes, we'll definitely go and do some review of files. We've been working on these things. Each week when we have group staffing every Tuesday, we're working on reaffirming. We are actually making all case decisions in 30 days and 45, where we've struggled with that in the past in our timeliness of decisions. And each week we're going back over some of these things. So it's a matter of pretty much how well individuals document stuff, and that's really challenging in the period that you're at. Making sure everything's covered really well and really clear. Sometimes those details get lost in the environment that we're in.
Okay. Anyone else? Great. Thanks, Cynthia. Sonia Scott, you're up next.
Good evening. I'm going to be discussing the Family Support Services Division. As you know, that consists of the crisis unit, non-emergency Medicaid transportation, employment services, child daycare, and child support. So I'll start with crisis right now. Last fiscal year, we processed 8,362 applications. As of July 1 of this year, we have processed 1,528 applications. Applications have increased 55% over the last 8 years, although our staff has not increased. Critical issues of this unit is the need for additional staff. Staff members are responsible for processing applications within 48 hours because it is an emergency program. So we have 5 social workers assigned to that unit, and that has remained the same over the last 8 years. And although, like I said, although applications have increased, policy has changed, and the time it takes to process applications have changed due to the implementation and complexity of NC-FAS. There's been no additional positions. We are fully staffed at the current time. We will have 1 individual who will be retiring at the end of this month, Ms. Adams, and we have 1 individual that is currently out on FML. So that has been a hardship for the staff present. I would like to acknowledge that for the month of July, when we met with our TA rep, we did have 100% timeliness. And that's because we have a team of dedicated and committed staff who does not mind staying to 7 p.m. and coming in on their Saturdays to process their applications because they understand the urgency and the need of that. So, though that is a critical issue there with crisis, non-emergency Medicaid transportation. Last year, we provided 33,237 trips for the citizens of Pitt County. That unit consists of 2 social workers and 1 admin. There is 1 supervisor that supervises the crisis team and the non-emergency Medicaid transportation, and that supervisor herself is also actually having to process crisis application at this time due to the high demand. Employment services, there are 3 programs under employment services: Workforce Employment Services, FNS, Employment and Training, and our STEP program, which is for the child support program. Last fiscal year, we provided services to 1,173 individuals. I would like to acknowledge that for the first time, a couple of months ago, we had our first individual to graduate from truck driving school. So that is one of the many successes of that program. That unit consists of 5 social workers and 1 supervisor. Our child daycare program, as of July 31st, we have 1,092 children on the wait list. We have the highest wait list in the state. We are currently serving 1,593 children. That unit consists of 1 supervisor, 2 social worker, and 2 income maintenance caseworkers. One of those positions are vacant due to a retirement and then a promotion. And we are advertising for that at this time. The current average caseload size for each of those workers are 385 cases, although the state recommends 235. And just to note, in 2001, you can see the difference. They had 1 supervisor, 5 social workers, and 2 income maintenance caseworkers back then. And now we have way less and the demand is high. Critical issues, additional staff are needed to accommodate the demand. As everyone knows, child care is in the forefront of the state and federal government to try to get individuals back to work. I will say that we are in the process of reclassifying 2 of the positions within DSS to meet that demand. We're just waiting on approval from the state to move forward with that. Child support. With our child support program, we have 8,856 open cases, and last fiscal year we collected $15,708,426.35. I will say that we celebrated Child Support Awareness Month last month in August. We had our free DNA testing day again, Ms. Perkin-Williams. We had 75 individuals to attend. That was 1 more than one more than we had last year. And this year, we partnered with NC Works to have a job fair for our non-custodial parents and our custodial parents, and we actually had 63 individuals to attend that job fair. And we had representation from the following employers. We had ECVC, Parker's Barbecue, Hexacomb, Megaforce, East Carolina Home Care, and Disability Advocates and Resource Centers. And we did have some folks that were actually offered positions on that day. I am waiting to get that total back from NC Works to see how many people received job offers on that day. So, any questions?
Did you have any of the industry to come?
I'm sorry?
The industrial, like the ones over at the industrial park?
To the job fair?
Mm-hmm.
No, we did not.
Invited? Were they invited?
They were invited. NC Works sent out invites to several of their of the different employers that they work with, and those were the only ones that were able to accommodate us on that day.
I'm pretty sure NC Works this is gonna be an ongoing event.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, it is, and we're actually discussing about possibly having it more than once a year.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yep.
Great work, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Julia here?
Yeah, do you want me at the podium or do you want right here?
So
Where do you want me to
feel
be?
comfortable.
Is Julia not here?
Hmm?
Is Julia Petrasso not here?
No, yeah, I'm gonna do for Julia.
I see, I see.
Okay.
You can speak wherever you think you.
Where do you want me to go? You want me to?
Sure, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Can I get there from here, or maybe I should?
Yes, you can get there from
Maybe I
there.
should go around.
Yeah, you get there.
Madam Chair, I'd like to see the statistics that each of these managers and program maintenance people maybe presented on paper.
I think that would be nice to have it in PowerPoint.
I heard a lot of numbers today, and for all of the managers who are still here, I think it would be good because you can see progress and stuff, and whatever from the.
You're talking about putting a report together from what you've heard today, which I
Yes,
think
those are a lot of numbers.
is an excellent idea, and that we can do, and maybe valuable to you to have in your packet every month.
Absolutely.
To look at that, to see the changes.
That'd be excellent.
And so we can make that happen.
I like very much to see that, and I know you're an interim director, and there's some things going through my head as it relates to DSS. Do we do exit interviews? Because we got 41 vacancies, and do we have a personnel person for DSS?
We have talked, that's probably one of the areas that takes up a lot of conversation, but human resources, I work with them and have worked with Ms. Hardy quite often, and looking at how can we look at different populations, where can we draw from, where can we get applications from. But when in talking with a lot of these people who I think, thank you so much today for such an excellent job that they did and explain to you the areas where they work. One of the things that I would say is that for me, it has been a pleasure to work with them and how knowledgeable they are and where they understand where they are. But as you have heard from all of them, vacancies are an issue. There does not seem to be a magic answer to that. Even the state people that I've talked with have made statements about, you know, a lot of people have retired, a lot of people have left the business, and it has just become very stressful for a lot of folks. It's not an area that's easy to do, as you can imagine. But anyhow, we're working on that.
I realize you're an interim, but when things just come up, I have a habit of bringing them out.
Now, Ms. Williams, you know you're gonna have to yell at me. You gotta get on that microphone, and you're gonna have to talk louder.
I'm sorry about that. But when I'm thinking, I do tend to lower my voice. But I think it's very good for all of these things to come, because I don't know about the rest of the board member, but I see and hear and am faced with a lot of different issues throughout the community, and it helps me to, and I keep notebooks, and it helps me to maintain that, because I know that Pitt County is one of the best counties in in North Carolina, and I know in the East we are, you know, the largest county among the ones, but we just have to do something to.
Well, I think we're working on trying to set the standard.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on it hard. I know all of these people behind me, I know how hard they are working. Let me just tell you, I'm sorry that, and Julia Petrasso, our attorney, came to me. She is at a conference with the district attorney and could not be here. And I've talked with her on several occasions. One of the biggest things she's concerned about is the the closure of the Center for Family Violence Prevention, which our agency uses and which the city uses. And what the projected closure is the 30th of this month. What hopefully she's looking at, I won't say me because she's brought this to my attention, is hopefully the county and the city can go together and jointly provide the funds that will continue the service that this particular center gives to us. That is just on the board. There's been nothing decided about that. But we're very hopeful that that will take place because it has obviously been an excellent service for the community. Now, from my standpoint, I've had a very busy first week. I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of the program managers and some of the supervisors and line workers. I've met with the county manager on a couple of occasions and certainly been with the Human Resources Director, Ms. Hardy, quite a bit. We had a management team meeting last Friday that I thought was an excellent overview for me. I think everyone here that you've heard today gave such an outstanding, truly report of where they are. And vacancies, as you know, are the biggest driving force right now. You've heard Angela report on how many vacancies we have. There were several issues that came up that I know the board has heard about before that I think you need to probably look at and your new director needs to look at. The 4-day work week has worked well for some. However, there are several issues that have come up with that, and I think it needs to be brought to your attention. From an administrative standpoint, it has been very difficult to reconcile day sheets with the time, and that's a real important thing in the agency when they're trying to enter that amount of day sheets. And contacting workers, front desk is having a little bit of trouble with that. And the other issue, as you can imagine, not everybody can participate in this program. It's mostly been done over at the Human Services Center building. It would not work well at all in the building that we're in here. And so it's not an equitable type of program across the board, which there are some people I think would probably love to go there, but they can't. It's unfortunate. I think I'm going to extend it through the end of September. I think that was the pilot program was to be through the end of September. But as of that, I'm going to stop that. And I think whoever your new director is, you may want to reevaluate that at some different point in time. But it is not something that at this point I have a lot of confidence in going forward with. Now, of course, you've heard from Brian, we've got program improvement plans in place because of the RETA audit and because of family nutrition services. And looking at his stats, I think it was almost amazing, and we were talking about why there were so many. And if you look at just what's been going on in our community, not just our community, but every community, when it comes to just the price of groceries going up. You know, people not being able to afford food. A lot of people are applying that are not going to be eligible. So you've got a lot more applications. And most counties in the state, this is not just in Pitt County, most counties in the state are struggling with this because of inflation, because of food shortages, that type of thing. Our child welfare service area is also under a program improvement, as Ms. Lewis told you. They have indicated a 6-month window. Ms. Lewis and I have determined that we want a 90-day window, that we're going to try to pull this off as far as getting this managed in 90 days. I've seen a lot of commitment from a lot of supervisors in child welfare area. The main issue is the backlog and proper documentation. We're looking at hiring some folks from Vanguard. Ms. Hart has informed me that we do have some funds that are available, but we would not need to amend the budget, those types of things. So I think if we can get proper people in place. I talked with Tammy Shoup, who's the interim deputy director of county operations at the state yesterday. And I was very, pleased to hear from her that she had certainly noted some improvements in the program, some improvements in what we were doing in child welfare, and she was very complimentary of those improvements. We've got a long ways to go, but we're doing what we need to do. Ms. Lewis has put in place excellent teams to work on this. This coming Monday, a few state reps will be coming down to take another look at where we are. They will also have a state person on site on a regular basis to help us maneuver through this program improvement plan. Ms. Scott and I have discussed the possibility of reclassifying some of the positions that she has in the crisis unit that were originally, and for good reason, originally classified as social workers. We're looking at them as possibly, or you may want to look at reclassifying them as income maintenance workers at some future date, possibly the next budget year. And as transition, not to just change that automatically, but looking at reclassifying what these individuals really do is eligibility. When the program first started, and I think Ms. Scott would validate this, is when the program started, it was a lot about intensive working with people to get them to figure out where they could work or why they could continue to need crisis money, to pay electrical bills. What are you going to do next month? So I think there was a lot of counseling at that time. At this point in time, it's more of an income maintenance type of program. Changes in regulations, changes in the program. Now, I have some really wonderful news, I think, and up on my desk you will see there's a flyer, and it's called Jingle for Jeans. Yes, if you would, Ms. Williams, if you would pass those down to everybody, I would appreciate that. This is a fundraiser for foster children. Chandra Milburn, who is supervisor in child welfare, I understand this is a yearly thing, and Harvest Bread is a huge backer of this. And it's going to start, the kickoff is going to be October 14th from 7 to 9. Henry Hinton will be there. I'm planning to be there. I would invite and hope that any board member who wants to could come and be a part of that kickoff program. The other thing is from the 17th through the 21st, they're going to make what they call Bready Bears. And for all the Bready Bears that are sold, this fundraiser will get half the profits. I understand Mr. Dancy did in fact make a Bready Bear last year. He participated in that. And so I would encourage board members, if you've got some time during the day of, October 17th through the 21st, to go out there and be a participant in that. Another thing that I failed to mention that I should have mentioned earlier, Pamela Ellis was named Pitt County Employee of the Month. She works in Ms. Scott's unit? Yes, she works in Ms. Scott's unit. I was so sorry I was not able to attend county commissioners meeting last night, but she was recognized and she was given $100. But I think that is exciting that we have an employee that was the employee of the month for this county. That is pretty much my report to you. Do you have any questions of me at this point?
No, I'm happy to have you here. Such a short time that you've been here, and it's a lot that you had to face. But you jumped right in and nailed them, didn't you? Didn't you do that? Didn't you do that?
I've had a lot of good help. Let me tell you, I have been very impressed with how everyone has stepped up to the plate. Ms. Hart's got 4 vacancies in her unit alone, and we have it's been a wonderful team. It has really been a good effort, a wonderful team. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been exhausted some days like they have, but it's been a wonderful opportunity for me. But I can't tell you, and I can't applaud them enough for the work that they do.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's time for us, we're gonna need to be, go into closed session. So, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 regarding closed sessions. Section A, permitted purposes. It is the policy of this state that closed sessions shall be held only when required to permit a public body to act in the public interest as permitted in this section. A public body may hold a closed session and exclude the public only when a closed session is required. Also, item number 1, to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or of the United States or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 12, Chapter 132 of the General Statutes.
Welcome back into our open session. I did want to make the remark, just so it's documented, that we are grateful for Suzanne Gray and coming on board with us here at DSS to serve as our interim director. Anyone else have any more comments?
I would like to reiterate that. I know that Suzanne walked into a lot of work and has done it with full dedication, it seems, even in just the first week. So
yes.
I think we are very, very grateful for the work that she has stepped into and has made such positive light of.
And I appreciate all the updates from the program managers in terms of bringing us up to speed on where they are, looking at areas of strengths and areas of need. And so even though some of that we've heard before, it was good to hear it again.
Okay, thank you.
And to be updated.
Absolutely.
As a comment for DSS and social services employees, I'd like to thank you for all you're doing during this peril time, especially the fact that we have 41 vacancies. That's a lot of vacancies. So hold your head high and keep a smile on your face and enjoy the work that you do, because we are happy to have you all. Thank you.
Thank you. So I skipped over a very important part, and so I'll turn it over to Mr. Dancy to give us the director's search update.
As we know, the director's extension has been closed, and the board is now evaluating candidates as we move forward towards hopefully making a choice for our next director here in Pitt County.
Thank you, Mr. Dancy. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.